Welcome back to Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. Well, we did say it was political season when we started the show, and this just in, the All Progressives Congress has postponed its national special convention for presidential primary for the 2023 general election from May 29th to June 6th. The National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Felix Moka, announced this in a statement hours after the Independent National Electoral Commission extended the deadline for the parties to conduct their primaries. Now, the short statement read, following the Independent National Electoral Commission's extension of deadline for the submission of a list of candidates by political parties, the All Progressive Congress, APC, hereby postpones a special convention for the presidential primary from Saturday 29th to Monday 6th June 2022. Now, INEC announced the extension of the deadline for political parties to conduct their primaries by 6 days on Friday evening. So the Commission had initially announced the deadline for June 3rd for the presidential primaries. The extension of the deadline covers a 6-day period between June 4th and June 9th. Well, it was just like the APC was waiting for that extension for to be able to postpone it. Were they not ready?
I'm sure there are lots. I think not just the APC, a lot of other, parties, would actually, be okay with the postponement because they probably have one or two things they need to figure out before.
If they haven't figured it out by now, then they're not going to figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the first discussion of the day. You're talking about politics still. All right, for political systems to be representative, all parts of the society must be included. And when young people are disenfranchised or disengaged from political processes, a significant portion of the population has little or no voice or influence in decisions that affect group members' lives. Now, a key consequence is the undermining of political systems' representativeness. Now, to make a difference in the longer term, it is essential that young people are engaged in formal political processes and have a say in formulating today's and tomorrow's politics. Today on Daybreak Extra, we're looking at the level of participation of young people in this political season. And we have with us in the studio Abdulrazak Oluyede, and he is a philosopher. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak Extra again.
It's my pleasure again.
Yes. All right. So looking at, the whole elections and everything happening, because it's election season and all that. How would you rate the participation of the youth? Because you have a lot of older men coming out to say that they're young people and they're youths as well.
Yeah, to be frank, we know quite all right that the participation of the youths is nothing to talk home about. And if you look at it critically, you realize that this is not how we started. Yeah, if you look at the pre-colonial era, or the pre-independent, let me put it in the pre-independent and independent era, you realize that, or you agree with me quite all right, that most of our leaders then were youths. If you talk about Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, when he formed the National Youth Movement, you can see, when you talk about Chief Anthony Nahoro, you can see people like that in their 30s. In their 30s, they are involved. They are representation of youths. If you go to even the military, if you talk about Yakubu Gowon was 30 years old when he became the head of state. Even the President Muhammadu Buhari, was 39 when he took over. So you agree with me that this is not how we started, but one way or the other, we missed the line. One way or the other, there is a cut. So to me, we know quite all right, everybody will agree, it's truism known by everybody that the youth are not well represented, or they are not even part of the decision making. So I know quite right that is what it is today, but that was not how we all started.
Well, the youth are not part of the decision making, but is it not because the youth don't want to be part of the decision making, or because the situation does not agree with them to be part of the decision making? Yes, you made mention of some foremost politicians back then that were actually very active in politics. But the thing is, how much were they selling nomination form? during that period. You understand? A lot of people actually are of the belief that it is the environment that is stifling youth participation, and not that the youth themselves are not aware of what they need to do, or they don't have the capacity to actually participate. But unfortunately, this kind of the system does not permit them to do that.
Oh, right. Do you say the system? One way or the other, if you look at politics, politics is not something that you should go and start begging somebody to be part of. Now, when we talk about youth, inclusion of youth, are we begging the youth to come? Or do the youth also have it in mind, or have the passion that they want to enter into politics?
You're not getting what I'm saying.
I'm getting what you're saying.
It's not the lack of the passion to do that, but they don't have the means to actually do that. Because you just talked about it. You said current president was there when he was 39. He was the president back then.
Yes.
Now he's like 80, and he's still there.
Yeah.
Does that kind of system, does this kind of system permit for youth participation?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You see, Nigerian there's room for youth participation. Now, we are now saying that there are no youths. Then I now ask the question, is it the case that we are telling the youth to come out, or the youth don't want to come out? Let me give you instances. In my own village, where I come from, I went there one time, and there was this meeting for political parties. And when I went to the youths, to the meeting, it was old men. In fact, why I went there was that a man that I was supposed to go and meet, they say he went to the farm, but he will come back. No, in fact, they are telling him that he will come back because he's going for political meeting. He left the farm and come to political meeting. But then there were no youths. You see, to be part and to have ambition to become politicians, that we are talking about the youth must start from the crash. They must follow the principle and procedures. So our youth don't follow the principle. They are not in any political parties. They are not in any political parties. Now I'm hearing even the rumor of there's this youth that they said won the PDP ticket, Banky W. There's another rumor that he did not win. But you know why? When I said there's another, they are now asked the question, even if they want to give him, they will say, okay, they want to give him. But sometimes, some people will now say, I've been in this party, I've worked for this party, somebody just came yesterday and you want to give him ticket? They will fight it. So when the youth, if the youth really wanted and they have that passion, they should now look at which way, how do I go by it? Then they now follow the procedure. And if they follow the procedure, they will get there. You are comparing the money for when the early leaders were and today. There are no difference. There are no difference. You can't compare then and now. But definitely, there are no difference.
Okay, now there are lots of myths, and lots of older people actually believe or say that just like my co-uncle has actually said, that the youths are actually politically apathetic, or that the youths are too immature to be included in decision making, or the fact that young people have the propensity for violence and extremism. And these are actually some of the reasons why when it comes to politics and decision making, they're actually nowhere to be found, almost nowhere to be found. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I will agree with that to some extent. And why I want to agree with that is also draw back to lack of that passion, lack of ambition, and lack of forward looking. For instance, when you talk about violence, it's still the youth that they are using. So if a youth has ambition and know exactly where he is going, he will not soil his hand. You understand? Lack of immaturity. For instance, now, when you talk about violence, it's youth. You talk about, even when they bring the youth up forward to say, okay, come, that immaturity will affect them, and before you know it, they will soil their hands. We have seen youth that have gone there, and yet they just had to join them and start doing what they're doing.
Okay, so back then, our former leaders that became presidents at 30 years, and so would you say they were immature as well? Because a lot of people would actually say, they're, like I said earlier, they're actually myths that a lot of people actually believe it, but it's not necessarily true, because during these elections, a lot of youths actually came out willing to participate actively in politics. But, you know, for one or two reasons, they're not able to. For example, the 100 million naira presidential form that was slammed on, you know, in the APC, you know, because if you talk about unemployment, you know, there's a lot of unemployment, you know, with the youth. There's a lot of things actually going on with the youth. And, you know, these things actually make it difficult for them to, you know, actively participate.
You see, we are looking at what is now. I want us to look at what ought to. For instance, the 100,000 is the money. The process is this: if the youth have the ambition and they follow the process, you see, there's lack of mentorship now. If you have a mentor, and this person is a politician, and you have been coming under that person for a long time, that you are here, you are there, they have been seeing you. Before you know it, even this 100 million, you will see your mentors will say, come, you are good.
But is that the fault of the youth, that they don't have mentors?
Exactly.
Is it the fault of the youth? Do they need to go and say, okay, come and mentor me?
Yes, it is the fault of the youth.
Well, you know, that's godfatherism. You know that, right?
You know, it has so many names now. You have so many names for them.
All right,
if you say godfatherism, it's also mentoring.
So the youth need to go and seek for the mentor, say, okay, come and mentor me.
Yeah.
And if they say no, then what happens?
In mentoring, there are two ways in mentoring.
Okay.
One, you can go categorically and tell this person, I want you to mentor.
And he says no.
Yeah, the person can say no.
Exactly.
Yeah, the person can say no. And secondly, there's another way of mentoring where you can just be part of that person, following the person's ideology, accepting with the person's opinion and desires. One way or the other, you are entering into that person. The person already know that you are already part of me.
But what if
it's also mentoring.
What if you don't share the same ideology with that person? Because really,
no, this is another thing about politics.
The thing is,
let me tell you this about not sharing the same ideology. You see, you want to enter into a stream. If you want to look at politics today, so many people will not want to go into politics because the way it is being played. But you know, if you want to really go into it, one way or the other, you ask that, they say if you want to catch a monkey, you do like a monkey. Then you enter, but you have that idea of this is what you want to implement when you get there. So you may not have the same ideology with them, but because you want to attach yourself to get to where you are going, you have an idea. That's why I said this is passion and this is forward looking.
But you just made a point that you have a lot of youth that actually managed to get there, and after they got there, they swelled their hands. Those were your words.
Yeah.
So how do I prevent myself from, okay, I don't like this person's ideology, but he's an old guy, he's a rich man, he has money, he's an old politician. I think I can be able to get to where I'm going if I follow him. So I pretend to go with his own ideology. How do I stop myself from actually drinking that Kool-Aid and following that path that I know is wrong?
Yeah, thank you. You see, the political landscape today, most people enter into that landscape because of the reward that they will get, because they needed money, because they want to live an affluent life. So those reasons for entering politics will not make any youth achieve anything therein. But a youth that has that impact ideology, that I want to impact, I want to change, you know, I want to bring new things that will bring development. You have that mindset. It is only that mindset that will make you enter there and do something different. But if you have the mindset that let's go and collect that Ghana must go, let's go, I also want to get this, that is what it is. And today, see, the youth, you mentioned from when you started with your preference, the youths are the most active. They are, in fact, you cannot even develop without the youth. But the problem of today's youth is that sometimes I call them microwave youths. Even in the aspect of today's politics, today we are going into digital economy, and it is only this youth that can only fit in. You understand? But you know what they do? Now, the leaders will now use those youth to achieve whatever they want to achieve and give the youth just take. And when they give them that peanut, they are okay. Then they are okay because they don't have that ambition, they don't have that passion, they don't have that impact ability inside them to say, this is not what I want, this is where I'm going.
But that's very difficult in a situation whereby you're hungry, really.
It's very difficult, but it's only in the difficult case.
So that's the thing. I mean, like, if a person is hungry, you can't expect that person to be thinking about how to make impact, he can't see beyond his next meal, and you can't blame him for that.
Some people have to take that brunt. Some people have to be hungry so that they save majority of people. The old ones we are talking about, the earlier ones we are talking about, they were hungry, yes, and they lived their life. They put all their effort into making Nigeria today, and today their names are still there. They are also hungry. They are also hungry. But if you have passion, you will not look at hunger. See, if you have passion and you are going into doing what you want to do, hunger will come, it will go, and you still continue what you're doing. If you see people that do blogging or do software and things like that, most of them suffer from cancer, ulcer, and things like that. Why? Because when they are doing what they have passion for, hunger will come, but because they needed to complete this thing, they want to do it. And that is where passion lies.
Okay, but then, talking about, youth in election, even if a youth should actually come out, how many of these youths, are willing to support, a fellow youth without monetary gains?
Did you see this? You see, it's still the same thing now. The youth will rather go for somebody that will give them money. They look at today, today's survival, rather than what is there for me tomorrow. So even when youth comes out and say, I'm youth, I don't have money, I don't have this, but these are my ideas, this is my template, this is what I will give you tomorrow. It is somebody that brings money for them, and they just want today money. They don't want to wait. So that's why I'm looking at the ideology, the orientation of today's youth need to change. If the ideology and the orientation changes, then you will see more of youth going there. If somebody just comes and say they are doing something like, okay, do you want to compare the protest, Alibaba, is it Alibaba protest? There's this protest that they did with Nadeko and things like that from the old. Okay, there's this Alibaba protest then. This protest then, it was youth, it was students. Ali must go. Yes, Ali must go. Ali must go protest, not Alibaba. Ali must go protest. This protest, it was students that did this protest. And when they were doing this protest, nobody can come and say, let us sit down, let's sit on the round table. Do you know today, when youth protest, what they do is that, who are your leaders? Bring them in. They sit down with their leaders and they promise them 1 or 2 amount of money. And they just go back and say, let us relax it, and that is all. So the youth, that's why I'm saying that the youth will say, this is what we want. It is not money, it is development. It is not money, it's impact. It is not money, it's our representation.
So do you think the youth should actually, be diplomatic about it or take it by force? Because if you look at, the percentage, aside women, the percentage of voters, more of them are youths.
Yeah, they don't need to take it by force. Taking it by force will amount to the fact that they don't have ideology. So they should be diplomatic. They should be diplomatic and know where they are going. And they should also have this mindset that, because sometimes again, it is just small amount of youths that are coming out. If they come out en masse, if they say every state, let's have 10 youths coming out for so position. It's not something they can get within a year or two. That's when I say forward-looking. If you look at and say, okay, in the next 20 years, they are sitting down today and they are projecting that in the next 20 years, this is where we want to see ourselves. Then what do we need to do? Then they start that gradually. That is where it is the process. In the next 20 years, you see them there.
By the time that he starts that, if he's 40, when the next 20 years he'll be 60, he'll be no longer a youth anymore.
No, this is what we are saying. If I started a movement today, does not necessarily mean I should be the one at the ends of affair. What we are doing is that we are doing orientation, reorientation, and deorientation of the youths that are coming. So those are those 3 things that you need to do. You do orientation, you reorientate, and you deorientate. So the people that are coming is like a movement. People will be coming in, joining the movement gradually. Then when we get to where we need to take power or represent, we say, okay, who is there for us? We have this, we have that, we have this. Come up.
But the thing is, We talked about the leaders of old who were there, who went hungry,
Yes.
so that the people behind them can actually do something worthwhile.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the people who came behind them, they messed it up.
Do we say they messed up? No. What happened is when they continue.
But do you think that those leaders of old, if they were there now, they'll look at the current state of affairs and say, we did well with these guys. These guys are doing very well. The current people running the show now.
Running the show now.
Yes.
Did well with
the efforts, the former guys that were there before.
Yeah.
The Azikiwes that we talked about, the Nahoros that we talked about. Will they look at these guys currently running the show now? Because to them, these guys are the youth. They were the youth back then.
Yeah.
And they were paving the way for them.
Yeah.
So do you think that they now will actually look at this current crop of guys running the show now and be proud of what they are seeing, that these guys are actually running the show the way they want them to?
In group, if you take them holistically, we can say, they have not met up with the aim. But if you want to take them individually, you know the impacts you have made. One way or the other, your impacts may not be seen in that globe because other people don't have the same goal that you have. So one way or the other, you can say on your own. So I can say individually, they can be able to say, I tried my best. But holistically, we can say they have not done it. And you know what? I just mentioned the current president when he was 39. They are still in the show till today. They are still in the show. These people hold this thing as their what they call as their occupation. In the days when you tell a youth that do you want to become a politician, they don't see politics as occupation. They don't see politics as something they would do for a living. But this is what those leaders were doing, and they have been there for a long time. Did you see that? If a youth want to come and they want to say, if I want to test you, do you really have passion? Do you really want to do this? Okay, you want to become, take this one, just don't worry, just take this one, and you just take and you sit down. It tells me that you don't have where you are going. Then I will know, and I will now use you to achieve my aim. It is the youth that they are still using to achieve their aim. It is the youth.
Okay, so now do you think, because earlier you actually talked about the youths not being interested in politics, do you think the reason for that is the fact that they lack the education, or how to, properly, go into politics? Because a lot of people would actually say that the older ones are deliberately doing this so that, the youths would lose interest in politics and they get to, run the country for as long as they want.
Yeah, you see, basically, it's not that the youth don't have interest. They have interest, but they need orientation. And they need methodology. You understand? They need the orientation to let them know that coming into politics is an act of service. It's an act of service where you also write your name. You understand now? Where you also write your name, that tomorrow they will mention you and this is what they will say. So that orientation needs to be known. Secondly, the methodology. How do you get to where you want to get to? The youth needs to also understand that and follow suit. Like I said, youth ask anybody if you ask, are you a member of APC? Some youth that are even following APC, they are not members, they're not card-carrying members of APC. Do you understand? So they may be following APC, doing everything for APC, PDP like that, but they are not card-carrying members. So become part and parcel of those parties. The former APC youth leader, this is somebody that I've been following. And today, he stood up again. He said he wants to go further. He left that seat. These are youth that have been following processes. These are youth that have mentors. This mentor now, in quote, whether role model, mentoring, coaching, those are ways that youth can come up. They can't just come up today and say, I want to be there. When you come there, you go down again. You soil your hand. But the orientation and methodology is what the youth need. And forward-looking, they will look it and say, okay, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, have it in mind and have a target. You have a target, that's where you are going. So before you know it, some youth are going like this, while others are going like this. But you will not find that. Definitely, you will surely find that. But when you have the majority, and when you have it that anybody that is going contrary to what the majority of the youth are going to, we must bash that person back. We must let that person know. We will not even appreciate that person. We will not hail that person. But today, it is those people that are going contrary that even the society hail them. The youth hail them. The youth see them and say, yes, Rankadede. For those people like that. So we don't need to praise people that are against the ambition of the youths.
Unfortunately, I still come back to the earlier stand that I made, and I'm still making that particular stand. We're talking about mentorship, we're talking about coaching, we're talking about taking people on it. That means with the current crop that we have actually agreed, we did agree that this current crop actually mucked it up from what the previous guys did. The pre-independence guys, the guys that fought for the independence.
Holistically.
If we're talking about individually, if we're going to talk about individually, we can't say that youth are not interested in politics or they're not going into politics, because you have pockets of youth coming here and there. Lots of them contested in these current primaries that were then they lost and all that. So that's the thing we're talking about.
But I've told you why they lost.
We're talking about a holistic.
There's no methodology.
We're looking at it.
You can't come today and what I have been doing for a long time, I just want to come and take it up. It's not done. That's why democracy is. That's
they're
the
not given the opportunity or the chance.
We're looking at it. We're
Who is
looking
not
at
giving?
it. We're looking at it holistically
are not given
now.
the chance.
That's what I'm saying. We have to start. The methodology now is to say, one,
so now
join the party.
So now you're saying, it's better or it's preferable for somebody who has been in the game for a long time and not even really done so much than for a youth who, has potential to actually win.
If a youth has potential, that's what I'm saying now. Having potential is different from having passion for doing what you have potential. Our youth have potentials. That's why they are the most active youth. They have potential, they have the brain, they have everything. But having the passion and understanding the game, having the passion and understanding the game. Politics is a game.
But wouldn't you say that it's because most of these older ones have deeper pockets than the youths? That's the major, not that the youths are not passionate.
Deeper pocket.
Yes.
Deeper pocket for who? For the youths. Deeper pocket for the youths. If for instance, now I want to contest and I'll gather the youth, it's still the youth I will use. You understand? It's still the youth I will use. Then I say, I want to contest, so this is what I'll say, and each and every one of us, before we even go, let me just give you 100,000 yet.
So you're saying the youths are the problem of the youth?
They are the problem of the youth.
But the thing is, we just talked about delegates now. Delegates being the power brokers now, the power is in their hands. And we look at them. If we look at the constitution of these delegates, how many of them are actually youth?
Exactly, not
and these are the guys.
Look at this. This is the same problem.
And these are the guys collecting money to vote in these same guys that we agreed, you and I now agreed, that mocked it up.
Thank you. This is how it is done. This is what we are talking about. This is methodology. If you and I sit down today and say, in the next 20 years, you and I want to be the delegates.
I'll be 60.
No.
That's the thing. I won't be a youth anymore.
Wait, I will tell you this. When I say you and I,
yes,
we have a movement. I've told you that before. But it doesn't mean that it is just because your personality. No, we have a movement that in the next 20 years, what we want to see is that we want to see youths in those positions. You know what I'm saying now? What we need is that join political party. Join political party. Those people that are delegates, they are political party.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
But there are 60 and 70-year-old
guys no youths there.
voting for their own kind of people.
There are no youths.
Why are there no youths?
Exactly.
That is what I'm asking you. That's why I'm telling you that the methodology is that for you to now become part of the politics, be a card-carrying member.
What I'm saying is...
You get what I'm saying now? Join a political party wholeheartedly, fill their form, and start going to political meetings. That's how it starts.
A lot of youths actually joined political parties this time around. A lot of them.
Thank you. Good. That's, you see now, this time around. And that's why I said it is a movement. Do you get it now? Now, thank God most of them are even coming out. And thank God we are talking more about youth representation and inclusion. It is not going to happen immediately. Do you understand? It's not going to happen immediately. It is what we now continue doing. Next time comes again, you see more of them. And those people that joined now, they should not just fold their hand. Those people that lose now, they should not just fold their hand and say, till 4 years ago. Let us now be part of how we do it. The convention, this. Look at the way they're doing convention.
Okay.
I saw PDP convention,
Okay.
and I saw the way they put things in place. I said, those old men don't even know anything about this technology.
You're actually talking about, the youth being card-carrying members, right now before becoming delegates.
Yeah.
And right now, a lot of people we talked about it earlier, and a lot of people are under the impression that for you to be a delegate, that means you can be bought easily. And, we're trying to discourage the idea of, even being delegates, at all, because, it's associated with money. Those who have deep pockets are those who pay delegates for votes and everything. So why are you still encouraging the youths to become, to become delegates when you know that in the end, they might end up being bought?
Thank you. Look at this statement. They said, you can't future in the future that you don't picture. Do you get this? You can't future in the future that you don't picture. It means that before you join politics, before you become a card-carrying member, you already have a picture that you want to future in the future. Did you get it now? So it means that when you now become a delegate, you will know that this, our own delegate, is not the type of delegate that will collect money. Because we already have this mindset that this is why we are entering into it. We want to change the system. We want to bring a different new ideology. So it is only when we enter with such ideology that we'll be able to change it. And that's why I said it is not about being competent or being, it is about the passion. So that passion and the idea that you want to go and change something, when you get there, you will definitely change it because you know why you are there.
So right now, is it safe for us to agree that the current crop of politicians that we actually have now, who have mucked it up from what the previous guys actually did, were not passionate enough as young men? They do not have the ideology.
They have. You see, sometimes, let me give you an instance. Sometimes, if you're an accountant, and people keep bringing money to you to hold, you have this passion, you are a good person, you give them back their money, you should keep doing that. But when a time comes that these people just ignore you, they just believe that you are a perfect person without checkup, without auditing. That's why there are auditors. Without auditing, even you yourself, that is human being, you start looking at, when nobody is checking me, and if I do this, nobody will see it. Nobody will even come and do this. Because there is no continuous process of youths coming up and changing and following that same ideology.
Exactly.
They now stand on the fact that they have already gotten the space.
And
so
whose fault is that? Because the environment needs to be created for the youth to actually participate.
The environment is there. I told you that there are rooms representation. From history, what did we get? The room has been there till tomorrow.
Exactly.
In fact, even yesterday, there's another room for what is this bill that they took there? Something youth run.
Not too young to run.
In fact, when they are talking about that thing, I say, what is it now? It's already been there for a long time. This one they're just bringing another is politics. You understand? No, it's still there. What we are saying is that they should be part. The environment is there. Let me tell you, the environment is there. Nobody is stopping them from anything. They are the ones stopping themselves. If you come and they give you money to sit down, you will sit down. You will sit down. So, but when they give you money and you don't sit down and say, it is not money that I want, sir. I wanted to get to this place. I want to change something. You said that, I said that, she said that. We'll get there. But even like 3 of us were going now, and that's what we said. But when we get there, and I said, look, you guys, I'm really hungry. Let me collect my own. I've started spoiling that idea. And before you know it, the youth start getting into it. They are all youths. People are entering and they are youths.
But that's the thing. We're still talking about what the point that I'm making right now. We start a movement now. Okay, we have a plan that by 20 years we want to be delegates. By 20 years, I'm 70, no longer a youth anymore. By then, I'm not thinking about ideology, I'm not thinking about any other thing else, because the environment is not there for me to get to where I want to get. We're talking about hunger. I didn't create the hungry environment for myself. Somebody part of the youth movement then, pre-independence, that is there now, created this environment for me. And unfortunately for me, that person is still in charge of that environment. And he's keeping me hungry.
So,
and for how long do I ignore my hunger?
you know, it is not
Because
your hunger
I am not,
anymore.
I'm not
now.
thinking
it
about.
It is not your
because
hunger
I'm not
anymore.
thinking
That's where the
about-
problem is
Because
now.
I'm not thinking about ideology. I'm not thinking about. I need to feed first before I can start thinking about, okay, how am I going to change this? How am I going to change that? And I'm not the one who's keeping myself hungry. What I'm trying to make is, the people who had it easy, when we talked about those guys of the independent era, who are running the show now, mucked it up, and they're keeping it mucked up for the youth, for them to be able to participate in what you want them to participate now. Not because the youth don't want to, but because they can't. That is the point I'm trying to make. For how long do I ignore my hunger because of ideology?
Thank you. You see, going into politics or becoming a community developer, you don't look at yourself. You don't look at yourself. Like now, we kept saying, my hunger, my hunger, my hunger. If you see the example of an hen, when an hen had lot of children, when they see food, what do? They go there, they try to do like this, then leave it for their children to do. Do you get it now? This is not for them. The mothers will do it for the children. So now, if you are going to impact, you are going into politics, you are not looking at yourself. What you needed for yourself, it is that your good name. Do you understand? What you need for yourself is that your good name. What you need for yourself is that service, that selfless service. It is service that doesn't have reward. But today, that's what I'm now looking at. Today, most youth are looking at the reward. They are looking at that's why they call it stomach infrastructure. They just coined that name. It's not anywhere. You can't say it in the dictionary. Is that not so? But they coined it because they see that this is what the youth needed. Let us fill their stomach. And they fill their stomach and they go sleep. Before they wake up in the morning, things has changed again. This has changed. What we are now saying is that when you have an ideology, when you have a movement, even when you are 70 and you look back, those people that you have now mentored, those people that you have coached, they already have this.
But I can't mentor anybody now. How can I mentor somebody now? Who am I going to mentor?
That's why it is not now. You are mentoring somebody for tomorrow.
That's the thing. But I'll have to start mentoring him now by the time that I'm 70, then that means he's the youth then and he's in charge of the situation.
Yes.
And then he will go further. That means I'll have to start mentoring him now. But I can't do that because I do not have the resources, because somebody somewhere who has been there for 50 years has not given me the chance.
You start becoming a mentee under somebody.
That is the thing. He has not given me the chance because he has been there for 50 years. And just like I asked you the first time, you said we need mentorship. All right, so I go to these guys and I say, okay, fine, I'm here, mentor me. And he says, no, what do I do? I don't do anything.
Can I talk about Tinubu?
Go ahead.
Thank you. You know, Tinubu now, he has gone beyond a mentor. They call them the cheerleaders. Cheerleaders are people that will mention your name where you are not there. Do you get what I'm saying now? Mm-hmm. They have been mentoring you. They have seen that you're a good personality. You can do this. Then they now mention your name even when you're not there to say, hold this position. Now, imagine that people that enter into politics and enter under the tutelage of Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu, and they were going, and most of them are youth. This is how Tinubu will be mentioning them wherever he goes. The game saying no, if they are youth. But those people he's mentioning, they are the people following him, and he's mentioning them in places. They are becoming governors, they are becoming president, they are becoming what they want to become in life. So it means that the mentor or the person that you want to follow, you already know it's a mentor. You have followed this person and you have given this person wholeheartedly, willingly, you are following this person. That person will mention, he cannot be everywhere. So there is no mentor that you want to follow that you will say one day you will not look back except and until you are not following that person wholeheartedly.
But that's the thing.
But I have told you one person that has been doing that now.
One person?
Yes, that has been doing that.
So all of us should follow him?
Yeah, we can.
All of us should follow one person.
And do you know what?
And he will mentor all of us,
no,
all the youth.
This is how it happens.
Because that's the thing. What I'm saying is there is a dearth of mentors. There is a dearth of people who are actually willing to mentor the young people that we are going to, and then put them in the right places, because they have been there for 70 years and they want to remain for the next 70. That is the point I'm trying to make. The environment is not there. The people are not there. I don't agree with the ideology of those people that are supposed to be mentors now. How do I follow them? That is my question.
Yeah,
how do I follow somebody who I don't believe in?
You know, look, this is how it is now. There's no how. You can't, let me put for instance now, searching for a mentor. Definitely you needed somebody that will mentor you. You are now searching for a mentor. The person you want to search as a mentor, maybe you see this person, you really want this, then you cannot totally say, because I don't have any ideology with this person, I don't want to. In fact, sometimes you become a mentee and try to open the eyes of the mentor and say, sir, what if we do it this way? What if we do it this way? Do you understand? And somebody somewhere is changing another person's ideology as his mentor as well.
Or your own ideology is being changed by your mentor.
Yeah, you are not changing the ideology of your mentor.
And your mentor can also change your ideology.
Changing your ideology.
No, I'm saying one way or the other. For instance, now the mentor I want to follow doesn't have my ideology. He doesn't have my type of ideology. I now entered into him and I was following him. And now I want to say one way or the other, I can still change the ideology of my own mentor.
I understand.
Do you get what I'm saying now?
What I'm saying is, it's still 50-50. Your mentor can still change your own ideology.
Yes, it can still change my own ideology. But you know, I have a reason
but
for
then
entering
the chances of you changing your mentor's ideology is very slim.
Very slim. Very slim. So, but that does not stop us from going into mentoring. It doesn't stop us from going into it.
Okay. Well,
And even those people that he has mentored, I have a mentee that is also mentoring other people. Do you get how it goes now? So even if I take this one today, so my mentee will also carry some people up.
all right. Well, I think with that, we will be wrapping up this very heated and interesting discussion. Thank you so much, Abdulrazak Oliede, for joining us in the studio today. Olayode.
Yeah.
Okay, for joining us in the studio today. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
We hope to have you again
Definitely,
next time.
yeah, definitely I'm here.